We're just gonna do some B-roll. You guys don't need to see me grinding away for the next hour.
You can hear the comments already.
I didn't know if you were insinuating something because I said grinding.
What's up, Lite Brite Nation?
Hey, Lite Brite Nation.
So we have the CJ on the lift, and our next goal is to chop off everything underneath.
The fun stuff. We're gonna do some fab work. We've got these awesome axles. They are used, but they're totally rebuilt and they flow super nice. Way better than what's on there currently.
They're a little been sitting in a field for quite a long time, so they're pretty clean axles. And they were just gone through, I guess, like not too long ago. And they have the lower gear range than what's in this. So that was another plus.
Because we're putting, what, 33s or 35s on here?
Probably 33s. It had 30s on it, or 31. So we're gonna go up to like 33s and maybe 35s. But probably 33s. The motor mounts were bad, so we're gonna do the motor mounts. We have to put a new T-case in this one because this one is grenaded. By the way, if you own a CJ7, you cannot flat toe a CJ7, even if it's in neutral, because the T-case doesn't have enough flow for the gears to spin oil in them. So you have to disconnect the rear drive line when you flat toe a CJ7. Otherwise, you tend to grenade transfer cases like this one. Right now, we're just gonna
work on the belly and suspension.
Chop it all off. So Beck's gonna get all that stuff off. I'm gonna rack up some axles. Let's get started.
I love it when you get it on the first try.
Oh, I saw it move. I saw it move. Yeah! Oh yeah. You probably pull it off.
You taking cover?
No. Where's the other? Yeah! Ah! Oh. Woo! Stupid thing.
That cap was way too hard to get off. Okay, that's off now.
Oh, yeah, look at all that dirt in there.
Ooh. Probably all kinds of stuff in there.
Oh, sweet. It is a new gear, look at that. Fresh. Sick. Super score. They're pretty fresh.
It's not like a ton of mud in it or anything, and sand.
Like the last set that we did. Yeah, no, sweet. Awesome. They look like really good shape. Everything's tight. Sweet. Gonna clean that out and put it back together. It's too wide to go on there. It's just where she's going. Ooh. California dirt right there. Come on, move. There we go.
Goodbye.
And we're done. If anybody wants any stock CJ springs, hit us up.
For $1.
Free, come and get them.
Yeah, really.
Now that Beck got the other rear axle out, well, I pulled this one apart. So this one's actually really nice. It has a fresh flange on it too. It doesn't look real fresh, but there's not a lot of surface rust on it. So I'm thinking these are new. It does have a new gear in it. I can't tell if this one is new because this one needs an axle seal over here. So I do have to put an axle seal in this. But other than that, it is, it's got really good lash in it. Everything's tight, so we're gonna run it. But I'm gonna pull this side off and put a new axle seal on this side. And we'll get her cleaned up and get ready to go back in.
So are these brackets gonna be saying where they're at? Or
yes. Also, the Jeep that these came off of was already on a spring over, but if we go to the YJ springs, which are actually right there, so we have YJ springs and we go to spring over, it'll give us like 6 inches of lift, and that's like a lot. So we're probably gonna take these back off and we're gonna go using the stock spring under because they're still there. So we're gonna end up cutting these off because I just think that's gonna be like ridiculously way too much lift.
It'll be easy to cut off too.
Those are some professional welds right there. I might have been done with a stick. This side's really bad. Yeah, so we're not gonna use these. We are gonna use the factory pickups, which are still on here. Luckily, they are still on the front also. Now on the front, we are They're still on the front, but in the front, we are gonna have to cut these off. We're gonna need to rotate these a little bit for the lift because we're gonna do a shackle reverse. So we're gonna take the shackle, put it back here, and make the front a single mount. So the spring will go this way, so it'll rotate this axle too much. So we need to move this spring perch a little bit so that we have the proper geometry in the front. This is a nice one, but they made something out of this one. This is I don't know. Anyway, we're cutting those off.
Probably the longest drive shaft removal I've ever had to do, because I had to chisel away at this grime just to be able to get the socket on there. But you know what? I'm grateful that this is in the air, because if I was on the floor like some of you guys do in your shops or your garage, there would have been extra cussing involved.
There's a lot of it already.
They don't know that.
Is this made in Korea?
Yep.
Yeah. So that one is definitely broke. There wasn't even a nut on this side, so this is all chewed right up. That's one. What's the other one look like?
New.
Got that new.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the other one's in the trash.
You already threw the other one out? The other one wasn't in bad shape. It's kind of splitting. So yeah, got them news.
So this morning I went to our local Napa store and got some more parts for today. And last night, Chris went ahead and cut off the brackets off the axles. As you guys know, I'm not a huge fan of that cutoff wheel. So he did that. I mean, I'll gladly do it with the plasma, but those are cut off. So I'm gonna spend some time cleaning them and do that again. Beautiful. What he said. We're just gonna do some B-roll. You guys don't need to see me grinding away for the next hour.
I can hear the comments already.
I didn't know if you were insinuating something because I said grinding.
So upon further inspection, I'm pretty sure it's not good.
Bad news bears.
But I'm just gonna yank it out. They're pretty easy to rebuild, and I guess I'm gonna show you guys how to rebuild was this a 32RH or a Torque Flight 999 or a 727, I guess is basically the same thing. So yeah. So I'm gonna get this thing out and on the bench and we'll get back to it. So
you know what? The plus side of this though is this whole thing's gonna be clean, because this is like disgusting.
it's like the last dirty part of this Jeep that we haven't cleaned, and I was like, yeah, I'll just pressure wash it when it's done. So now I guess we're gonna yank it out. So, well, I'll see you on the bench.
You guys don't know about this stuff. It's purple Zep, and it works amazing. Gets off all the grime.
got the tubes welded in and we got them all painted up. We did take the front bump. Oh, look at that fingerprints on
I
there.
know.
Golly, get those fingerprints.
It's gotta be you. I got gloves on.
So it's all on, welded up, painted. And now we're gonna stick the leaf springs back on because we didn't want to take that off again. So now we'll put the leaf springs on and we'll get the axle in it. We'll tighten the axle all up. We're gonna do hubs and brakes. Dang. All right, well, anyway. We did get the rear thrown in there. So we gotta do the same to the rear. We gotta bolt the U-bolts up and get that in there. Do the brakes on this. I think that's all we're gonna try to do right now so that we can get all the shackles and perches welded on. The back was stock, so we're leaving the back. And then the front, we have to do the little archy thing. I'll show you. All right, well, let's get this thing back together. You only have one glove.
I do.
Let's go, Michael Jackson.
It's so heavy.
It's not heavy, that's the beautiful part. Look at this, folks. You can build a Dana 30 at home all by yourself. Ta-da!
Ta-da!
Wonder Woman here.
Wonder Woman.
Now we just gotta
Be able to break that in half. I can't do that.
Are you sure? Have you tried?
Well, no, but I know I can't.
I think you're doubting yourself. Of course, the little hindsight on my part is I forgot that we went to a 3-inch spring instead of the 2.5 that were in here. So, Becca's over here. She's gonna cut out a couple of new plates. And as long as we're cutting plates out, I'm just gonna have her cut out 4, and we'll just make 4 new spring bases or U-bolt bases, and we'll get this thing together. And then we'll figure out shocks and how to make a shock bracket for this. Originally they're on the bottom. They're off the bottom of this plate, actually on the back side, and come up to this guy right here, but we're gonna figure something else out, I think. We'll be back after she gets those brackets cut.
This morning, we are figuring out our caster. And the way that we did that is we tightened everything up where it is, and we lowered the Jeep down onto the jack stands, and then stuck a rod through here just to verify the separation between the pumpkin and the caster. So when we measured it, we were at 10, and we want 6. So we have to subtract 4. So we raised it back up, and because they're on leaf springs, they do move. And then we subtracted the 4, moved it. We tightened everything back up. It's placed where it needs to be, which means I can go ahead and weld it. I've already started to weld it some. Now we're going to take our brackets off, and I'm gonna weld it just a little bit more, and then paint it up, and it'll be good.
Not much dirt. That's good. We're moving right along. Oh, Beck got the lights in. Look how pretty the lights are. Oh.
Well, I got not the headlights in yet, but just the marker lights and then the fog lights.
And then you'll notice, for some reason, they said this would fit. I think I have a solution. I'm just gonna make a new shroud and move the fan all the way over to the other side. Should clear the water pump, and we'll have a fan in here. So that's what we're gonna do right now. So if my calculations were correct, the distance between the edge of this and the edge of the water pump was about 2 3/4 inches. So I have 3 1/4 inches here. So I should be able to move this fan over, build a new shroud, and then this will sit right next to like the water pump and the alternator, and the belt will clear the whole thing. The belt will clear the motor, and everything will be okay. So I'm gonna I'm gonna cut out a new shroud, move the fan over.
So while Chris is working on the shroud for the fan, I am going to get the brand new PRP seats installed. They are extremely nice seats. I think they're gonna look great in the CJ. However, the seat brackets, before the 4 bolts came up through the bracket into the bottom of the seat. Whereas the new PRP seats, you can see, have little eyelets on the side. So Chris ordered some angle iron, and I'm gonna take some measurements and cut up some new brackets for the seat mounts, and then move along with getting the seats installed.
All right, so we whittled this thing out and it fits amazingly. So what I wanted to do is move it over. Well, I moved it over as far as I could and we just kind of stuffed it in there. And now we're hitting the alternator. So I had to move it back over this way a little bit. We're going about that far, which is about that far over. And I think I said, what, 3.5 originally. Now we're at like 3 3/4. So that's good. That's really good. So now I'll put the fan off centered. Should still work just fine. So now I just got to get this cut out and get this fan mounted back on here so we can get this radiator in this Jeep.
And also, I did get these all cut out. I started mounting it. I do have to relocate one of the sliding bars over. So we're gonna keep one the same and then relocate the other one. So like drill a hole in here and just put it over more.
All right, so we got it in. The radiator is in. Plenty of clearance for belt clearance and stuff. So that looks okay. And I think Beck just about has this seat mounted that she made.
Ta-da! Looks good. We do have the 4-point harness seat or
Belt.
seats, whatever. I totally
Get in there. Come on, let's see all
that.
that.
Well,
come on.
Well, no, because I'm dirty.
Oh, you are.
I've been all over the floor.
Luckily for you, I was just using the air.
Oh, you're still recording.
Get in there.
You're gonna fall over.
I wasn't gonna fall over.
All right, let's not rip the jeans. Just kidding.
I mean, those seats are gonna get dirty real quick anyway.
I know, but like it's new and it's not my call to.
I know. It sits good. It's gonna be plenty far enough from away from the roof. That's good. How far do they go back?
Them tall people.
Oh boy, that's about as far. Put that harness bar in there. That's about as far back as that seat's gonna go. But you got plenty of room.
Yeah, lots of leg room. I'm like 5'7".
Sweet.
Awesome.
Now we just gotta put the other one together.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a harness rail.
Okay, so we gotta go a little bit more in. So I don't have enough room to grab it from the other side. Sure, why not? Let's go for it. Beck's over here being vulgar.
I'm not. I just wanted some knee protection.
So we've been cranking away today. Beck went and got the tires all mounted up. I had done the brakes. So I got the brakes all on, and then Beck is putting on the new steering links. And just for comparison's sake, look at the difference. This is the stock one and the heavy duties from Rugged Ridge, because I couldn't find anything else. These things are ginormous compared to the stock one. These are tiny. So we got the Rugged Ridges going in there. And then we're gonna do an alignment. We're gonna get the wheels put on, and hopefully these trans parts come soon. Oh! All right, we also got 5125 Bilsteins for the CJ. So these are 2 to 4 inch lift, I believe. So we're maxing these puppies out with the YJ springs and the shackle flip and all the things we've done to the CJ. These are gonna fit just beautifully. I am gonna have to figure out some way to mount the lowers fronts because we cut them off the brackets.
We made fresh ones, so we just have to figure out.
Oh, that's right, because that axle had tabs.
It's connected.
Yeah, they had, this axle originally had like a shock tab here because it was on a different setup. No, yeah, those are the stock ones for this.
Right.
But we went with a 3-inch spring, so these didn't fit. So I have to put this on these axles somehow. But these axles had a shock bracket off of here, and it was pretty bad. So we cut that off. So now I got to modify and or make one off of the back of this, so it'll go straight up to the factory mount. And then we got to do sway bars. Then we'll figure out the sway bar. I have some links in a box that I've been collecting. So we're gonna put some really neat sway bar end links on there that'll be detachable.
Okay, I got the shocks in. It's all welded up in there. Those aren't going anywhere. And then also welded in the sway bar brackets, as you can see there. Did the other side as well. Just gotta paint them black and they'll be ready to go.
2 more. Yep, I can see the boot moving. Yep, see the boot moving.
Okay, so here's the deal. We are waiting on trans parts to come in. Still. So Chris and I are basically getting good in the head and having to put the shell of the T case in so that way we can go ahead and start on the exhaust, which Chris is actually finishing up right now.
At least tacking it up. It's just getting tacked up for now.
Right.
Beck's gonna take it out and weld it here in a minute.
I am gonna weld it. Okay, so you can see that the shell of the transmission is in. The muffler runs down. Good old MagnaFlow.
The only.
And the T-case is up there, and then we also put the skid on. We really just wanted to make sure everything was cleared and working with one another, and it looks phenomenal. Also, we went ahead and did this because we need to go ahead and order drive lines because this build needs to be done in a matter of days. Like less than a week. So Chris is going to finish up the exhaust. We're gonna put the Jeep down on the ground, measure for drive lines, and then pull everything off. I'm gonna weld the exhaust, and then once those trans parts come in, we will rebuild the transmission and then throw everything back in.
So then while Beck is doing muffler and welding, I'm gonna try to get ahead some of the wiring that we have left. We have a little bit of wiring left up top that we just haven't got to because it's been up in the rack. So I'll do that while she's doing the welding, and we'll get it put back together one way or another. All right, so it's been a couple of days. We got pretty far on the Jeep, mainly just putting things together and assembling things. Beck got the seats in and the harnesses. She got the harness bar painted. I got everything buttoned up in the dash. I actually had it all together. I just took the steering wheel back off it, which is right here. So we got this, I'll pick that up. Got this pretty ballin', really nice steering wheel. It's thick, it's heavy, I like it. It doesn't feel cheap. I went ahead and was playing around with all the power yesterday and making sure everything worked, and everything so far worked. We filmed a part earlier and then realized we had no audio. So I don't know if you know this, but yeah, the transmission was no good. So here it is, all laid out. Everything's been cleaned. I do have my new fresh clutches. And then as I was putting the drums together, first and second drums were okay. Third drum, which is in the back, yeah, it welded itself together. So this is the third reverse, I believe. Is it in the back, or is that the first? First and second. The one's in the back of the case, because then this, the output shaft was, well, look at that, it's stuck together already. So this got really flipping hot from flat toeing it, and it welded itself together. So I have new ones of all of that. Actually, some of it is already installed in this trans case, so everything's been cleaned. I just got the steels, so the steels are here. I got the new carrier for the rear. All these have been cleaned and resealed, so all these have new seals in them. A little squirt of ATF to put them back together. And now we're going to go ahead and get the sprag put together, get these drums, sub-assemblies as they call them, all put back together. This is the new drum, so as you can see, this drum is nice and fresh. So we'll get that put together, that one put together. The planetaries were fine, the valve body is nice. I just got some parts soaking in here, like the levers and stuff that were all dirty. So yeah, we're gonna put it back together, clean pan and everything. Again, down to the wire. This thing's trying to leave tomorrow. I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing assembled so that we can get it back in this Jeep. so she's all back together. Well, the guts are all back together. So we have our reverse band and that band, and everybody's put back together. Lots of ATF, keep everything lubricated and everything fresh. So now what I gotta do is I have to put the pump in. So we have to stand this guy up. And I just happen to have a hole right there to stand it up in. So now we will move on to putting the pump in. Okay, we got the pump installed. Everybody's torqued down, new seals and everything in it. I did pull it apart and check it. The pump actually is really good, surprisingly. It really just chewed up like the third and reverse drum based on heat. We just cleaned everything out. And now I gotta put the valve body in it, which I did take the valve body apart, same thing, pretty clean. It was pretty clean. We're not gonna put any hop-ups in it or anything. I did change the seals in the cases for all the shifting stuff, but yeah, she's pretty clean. So we're gonna get this installed, and then we can put the ring gear thing on there, the output bearing, which this is really good too, no noise. Feels really good too, so I'm gonna use that. Yeah, so we just gotta put the rest of this stuff in here. First things first, lubricate it up. Put the piston in the hole. That's what she said. When you put the spring on the piston, the valve body will be next. And then we put the valve body down on this thing, Machika. Swing that hole. You go in that hole. Ta-da! What do we got left down here? Oh, we gotta set these guys. So we gotta set the bands. Now we set bands. Bands make good day. Bands make good day. All right, well, we got it all back together. We got the tail section on here, which is easy. There's just a bearing. We got the valve body in it. I got the filter on it. I have this. The reverse drum is set. You basically take the shaft, which I should have showed you, but you take the shaft and you run it into like 70 inch-pounds or just snug with a small wrench. Mark it and then back it out 4 turns and then run the lock nut in there. Run the jam nut. That way you have a little bit of play here, and that's about all the play you get. There's really no measurement for that. That's just what they tell you. So I'm going to put the pan on here so that we can set the other band, this one, but I'm going to set that from the top. But as you can see, we're locked in park. Ugh. Take it out of park in any gear. Look at that, she spins. I'm so excited right now because that's why it came. That's why we took it apart, because it wouldn't do that. So we are all back together. All right, so we got it in, trans is in, got the transfer case up. I got the torque converter put on. We just did the torque converter just now. I gotta put this plate on, put the linkages in it, you know, all the monotonous stuff now. And then we'll be ready for drive shafts. Got them JE reels. All right, we just topped off the transfer case with almost 2 quarts. It just wouldn't quite take the last bit of that second quart, but I hate square plugs. Put a new brass plug in there because who has square tools anymore? I don't know, I just like these better. So that's what she's got. So we're gonna get this cleaned up. I got some heat sleeve on the cables and the electronics for the EFI because the exhaust runs right through here. All the shift linkage is all hooked up. Everything's hooked up and ready to go. Before I put the skid plate up though, it will be easier to get that front drive shaft in, which is what we're gonna talk about right now. And speaking of drive lines, we got brand new reel drive lines. So these are from JE Reel. As you can see, the front one, the original front one's like, I don't know, a little bit bigger than my thumb. That is pretty tiny. And because we did the YJ with the axle reverse or axle flip or shackle reverse kit, we had to get a longer drive shaft. So that's about 2 inches longer than this one. So we had to get a new one anyway, which I was going to anyway because that thing's tiny. Also for the rear, when we did the rear, it's the same length almost, but we wanted to add this CV back here, or a double cardan, because of the droop that it now has is going to put this at a pretty extreme angle. So we wanted to swap this over. Now it'll give us less vibration and it'll allow the Jeep to droop out more. So we have to change this yoke. So I'm gonna get this guy swapped out and we'll get these put in. I wanna get that front one put in before I put the tray in, because if I put the tray in, it's really hard to get to that front drive shaft. So we're gonna go ahead and get this installed now. And there you have it, folks. It's installed. Now check this guy out. So there's a lot of plunge. This looks like a lot of shaft showing, but this drive line will plunge about 2 inches from droop to full bump. Make sure when you build your suspension that you get a full droop measurement yoke to yoke and a full bump measurement yoke to yoke, because if that's off, you're either going to slam it all the way in there, and that's really bad for the splines that are in there in the back of this yoke. It'll actually blow it out. Make sure we don't do that. So you want to get a full droop measurement and a full stuff measurement. Give that to them. They will figure out what kind of gap you need to have right here. We got a little over 2 inches because we got about 2 inches of plunge in the front, just the way the front end is designed now. Should handle really well though. Now we can get this plate bolted up. Last piece of the puzzle, the MagnaFlow exhaust. Get this put in, and I'm pretty sure we're wrapped up underneath. Then we can put it back on the ground. It's been a long night. Not only does she run, ta-da, runs great. She looks so good. Now we're gonna flex it out.
Chris has recruited me to help film. Moment of truth. I can't. You see that back wheel there? Barely started to come off the ground. Well, it's definitely not going to win.
No.
It's not going to be at the top of the list for the flex test.
Possibly beat the Land Rover.
But it might beat the Land Rover.
A whopping 19 inches is Land Rover.
Not bad. Yeah, not bad at all. What's it got?
14 and a half to the bottom of the tire. Although, wait a minute. We were always like at like 10 pounds. 15, weren't we?
Yeah, we usually air down for these.
So these are at full PSI. It's not too bad.
It's still not bad.
Now, that is a stock sway bar on YJ springs. It could potentially be better in the future.
Honestly, just the fact that it's running
Yeah.
is to me like...
That's the main part. It runs so good. So we got it all loaded up. I don't know if you know this, but if you ever rent a U-Haul trailer, those little wheel strap things, they don't like 33s, so you have to get more straps. She's loaded up on the trailer. I would like to thank Sean and Kathy for giving us the opportunity to resto mod their Ragnarok, their CJ7.
Thank you for doing it.
Yes, thank you very much.
It's really awesome.
Thanks, guys. I'm glad you like it.
Very much so.
So shout out to Exclusive Wraps for...
Our cool sticker. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
I'm glad you like it, guys. So this project is now done. Thanks, guys, for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe and share. Remember, you can get all your Lite Brite merch and decals at
LiteBriteStudios.com.
yeah. We'll see you later, guys. Bye.
Bye. Wow.
not ready yet.